Do you have the YouTube link, please?
S-
Um, Guys, do we have the link to YouTube, please? So that we can share that
Okay, you have shared it.
in on Slack.
No, on this chat.
Please, could
Yeah.
you put it on the community channel in Slack?
Okay.
All right, please, can you put it in the Alluvians channel that we're going live and people should join if they can, please? Thank you, and let's go live now. Okay, good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining us. It's a privilege to come back again to talk about strategic planning, and we continue our series around strategic workforce planning. And we have had two sessions already. In the first session, we did a quick introduction about our framework called Plan to Win. Plan to Win is a framework that is taken and cut out from Roger Martin's Playing to Win, How Strategy Really Works. And Plan to Win is a workforce version. It's a workforce take on Roger Martin's Playing to Win. So to do this, what we have done is taking a strategy document. If you already have a strategy document that's passed on by leadership, and if you are writing, if you're if you're at the moment thinking about putting together a strategy document, and whether defining strategy for your organization, defining strategy for your team, whether that is strategic portfolio plans or strategic workforce plans or any other kind of strategic plans, this is a fantastic framework to use. Why do we use this framework? Because it puts a win at the heart of planning. Okay. It's because, as we've said, every time we've met, winning is not a given. Winning does not happen by default. Winning has to happen by design. Okay. Winning has to happen by design. And what's the evidence of that? 60% of strategic plans never fully launch, right? And 70% of complex strategies fail. So if only 30% of complex strategies succeed, and if only 40% of strategic plans ever fully launch, then it couldn't be the strategy. It could be just the planning, right? It's going to be the fact that there has to be a way to 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 design and define the strategy, and a way to plan the delivery of that strategy that sort of gives you a better chance to win, right? So there's a way that the 30% are doing it that the 70% are not. Okay. And we do know that 10% of annual revenue is lost to strategic misalignment. Right. If that's the case, then it makes sense for us to look at what strategy framework is based on winning. And one of the best ones out there is Roger Martin's Playing to Win, Our Strategy Really Works. Roger himself is a very, very respected, experienced academic who's also had a lot of success, advising and supporting enterprise. And there's a lot of case studies, wonderful case studies to show for that. One of my favorite ones, is some of the work he did at GM and the relaunch of the Malibu, and how the strategy, definition, how the strategy for that was constructed, how the playing to win, the winning bit of this came to play in that is really one of my favorites. And the actual, playing to win work paper has been cited more than 500 times. In total, Roger himself has been cited more than 16,000 times, and his work is used quite keenly by industry. So that's why we build our framework on Roger Martin's idea. There are ideas that we've seen work in enterprise. There are ideas that we've seen work in business, and all businesses, small to big. Okay, so excuse me, please. So let me take you quickly through the framework, and then do a quick recap on what we did when we last saw, and then talk about what we're going to do today. Okay. So, when we last saw for the framework, you're going to call out Roger Martin's 5 choices that Roger says has to be defined for a strategy to win. So Roger's idea is that there are 5 choices that must be defined for a strategy to be a winning strategy, to have a chance of winning. And once we've called out those 5 choices, what we then do is we ask the mirror questions. So we then say, right, from our actual strategy document, what is our winning aspiration? And once we've defined the winning aspiration, we then ask the workforce question, what kind of workforce culture can deliver this sort of aspiration? Okay. And we go down that way through all those 5 choices. So we call out the 5 choices, we ask the mirror questions, and then we list from the mirror questions our key roles and positions that can deliver those the focus areas from those choices. We do a gap analysis, we do our 4B strategy, we do our economic modeling, and then at that point, we're ready to really turn that strategy, everything that we've put together, turn it into a plan. So what we're going to do is start building the plan as we go, right? And the plan starts to take shape once we've done all of this, right? So last week we called out the first question, which is winning aspiration. And for that, we used as a case study Barclays Bank in the UK. Barclays Bank strategy release for 2025. We looked at what are Barclays Bank's winning aspiration, and I'll show you that in a minute. But just before we go there, these are our 5 choices. What is our winning aspiration? Against that, we ask about the workforce that can deliver that. Where will we compete? We ask for the specific positions that can really compete there? How will we win in our chosen space? And then we look at that and say, what are the signature skills that can help us to deliver this how that gives us competitive advantage? Then what capabilities must be in place? And then we start to map out critical roles, 20, the vital 20% of positions that can generate 80% of the strategic value that we're looking for. And finally, we talk about management systems. We talk about metrics, tools, rituals, ways of working, methodologies, frameworks. We talk about all of that here, and we look at what tools can really help us to do this. So last week, we really focused in on winning aspiration. That's what we did last week. We focused in on winning aspiration. And to do that, we came into Confluence and we attached Barclays 2025 strategy document. And from there, we called out, pardon me, from there we called out what Barclays defined to be. As a matter of fact, we did call out all 5 choices, as you can see here. So we said, well, Barclays is winning aspiration. That's what we deep dived into that last week, is really to be a UK bank, and while being a UK bank, to be a global leader in finance. They talked about specifically delivering and being the leader and delivering really well in sustainable finance. And the strategy, the aspiration that can, the strategy that can help them deliver this aspiration is to be a simpler bank, a better bank, and a balanced bank. Okay, so really effectively, they've got 3 goals. So you got this BHAG, right, about being the global leader in finance while being UK centric. You get all of those beautiful qualitative, call out. But then coming to how do we, coming into, right, what's the strategy to get there? That's where we get to today. So today, we want to ask the question, where to play? Okay, we already know what Barclays winning aspirations are. As a matter of fact, the last time we met, we already did a deep dive into those winning aspirations. And from that, we already built our goals hierarchy. Okay, so already built our goals. So this would now then be added into Jira goals. Okay, this will go into here, Jira goals. Okay, so we would call out our main BHAG and then all our sub goals. Okay, clarify purpose, vision, and strategy direction is one goal. Define the core aspiration elements is another goal. Map the strategy execution model, and all of that. So we've got sort of 10 sub goals, right? From last week. The next question we want to deep dive into is where to play. And as you know, this is not just a conversation about geography. Okay. This is a conversation about markets. It's a conversation about channels. It's a conversation about niche and industry. It's a conversation about, the strategic positioning, right? That's what this is about. Okay. And so from last week, we already called out the fact that there's a geography element to Barclays is where to play because they want to be a UK-centric bank. So from a geography point of view, the first thing about where to play, the first point around where to play is, the geography. We want to be a UK bank. Okay. Yet we want to be diversified. Okay, so now we're talking about focus area. And the first focus area is a geographical focus, which is the UK. Okay. The second focus area is an investment model that is diversified. So is diversification is the next thing that is a focus area that we can extract from this. The next focus area is really the 5 businesses. Okay, the 5 businesses, right? And within these 5 businesses, when it comes to how to win, you will see how we further break these down. Okay, because that's really, really critical. So, before we get too far here, let me show you how to do this technically within focus. Okay, and I did so we're starting to build our plan now. So within focus, we can go to settings, we can go to the focus admin settings, and now we have our hierarchy. Okay, and what we're saying here is and I did say this on the introduction day, the winning aspiration goes into goals, into the goals app. That's this one. You have a goals directory. So the winning aspiration goes here. The where to play and how to win goes into focus. So this is where to play, and this is how to win. Okay, comes here. Okay. Now, as we start to define where to play, we will define under each where to play, how to win in that place. Okay, that's what we're going to do next week. Okay, today we just want to call out our where to plays. So first of all, where do we want to play in the UK? Right? Where do we want to play in a diversified market? Where do we want to play? In the 5 businesses, in core banking, we want to play in corporate banking, we want to play in private banking and wealth management, we want to play in investment banking, and we want to play in sort of consumer sort of banking. Okay. Now, when it comes to Barclays UK, this one. This is the first one, which is our core banking. So I call the core banking. It's actually not the core banking. I can say it now. It's retail banking. So this feeds into the third line here, feeds into the second line at the top to say our focus areas are 1, retail banking in the UK. Okay. Corporate banking in the UK. Investment banking is global focus. Okay, global focus, transatlantic and global focus for the investment banking. Okay. And then we've got a climate and sustainability finance. So from my point of view, there is maybe 7 focus areas from here. Let me ask Rovo to convert the where to play into focus areas. Okay. See what Rovo thinks see what the AI thinks, but from my point of view, actually it might have called it out here. Okay. So it talks about the UK centered leader in global finance. And within that, it's called out the things I said about retail banking here, corporate banking here, the international wealth fund, wealth hubs, the investment banks here, and the consumer banks. So that's the 5 things I called out a minute ago. So what Rovo seems to have done here is saying, right, take the business model as one way to play. and there can be sub-focus areas and sub-focus areas within that. Actually, let me see if it's more explicit. Oh, fantastic. So it's more explicit now. Actually, it now agrees with me. It's not actually broken it down the same way I had done originally, which is to say, number one, we're geometric, we're geo-focused, UK-centric. Okay. Number two is our 5 business areas. And therefore that, so one focus area will be the 5 business portfolio strategy. And then under that, there will be 5 sub-focus areas, each one for each of those portfolios will be under that. And then focus area 3 will be UK retail, which is interesting because I'd put UK retail under that focus area too, because that's, but it seems to be big enough to be its own focus area. So we might, again, there's no black and white way to this, as long as you've captured everything, and then we're able to capture the how to win in these areas, and then we're able to go further to capture the resources that we need in those areas. And that way, at that point, we're now getting more into workforce planning. Okay, right. So it talks about the transatlantic corporate investment banking, and then we talk about sustainable finance and leadership in there. Okay. So it's talking about turning this into a goal tree. I'll use this term and say yes. Goal tree. A focus area tree in a new section in. Okay, so that's going to happen. It's going to start creating. But while Rovo is doing that, I think we can start to create our focus areas anyway. Okay, we can start to do that in focus. So we can, literally go back, save and confirm. So all these focus areas can have a sub-focus area, which is fine. So I'll come back in future. We'll come back to these 2 types, but let's not worry too much. I'm not going to remove it now. Just leave it there. And then we can create a where to play. Okay. Right. While we're doing that, as you can see, Rovo is just working away, creating this hierarchy. We'll let Rovo keep doing its thing. It's literally it's what we're going to do. The way we're breaking it down is just helping us to do that. And the reason I'm doing a copy and paste is because of this conversation, to bring it to life, to make it sort of visible and clean and clear, right? That's why I'm doing a copy and paste. Actually, what I would do is sort of get Rovo to create this into the focus area, if that was possible. Okay, right. So where to play, we've got the UK-centered banking platform, and we do that UK-centered banking platform. And again, we can choose years, quarters, things like that, and we can start to say, well, this is for 2025, so 2026. So I'll put December for now. We'll come when we're at the end, towards the end of this process, we will then come into define timelines. Right? We will then come into define. Right now, we're just worried about scope, about what we need to do, and then we'll come back to define timelines. We'll come back to define also cost, level of effort, things like that. So that's going to come. Okay. Right. So create this focus area, let that, keep creating. And then I'll take the second focus area, the 5 business portfolio, and I'll create that. It's another way to play. Okay. For everything. In fact, just put them all in Q127. And so we'll let that create, and I'll come back to put all the descriptions in there. But you get what I'm doing here is really coming into, start to create that hierarchy of where to play. And then once I've done these 5, after this meeting, by the time we come in next week, I'll show you what that hierarchy now looks like, because I can then take this tree away and actually finish it off and ask Rovo to cleanly, set in place all this strategy tickets, if you like, and then bring all of that under and link all of this and bring it under the goals that we had created last week. Okay. We've got 5 more minutes. But so let me recap what we've gone through today and, just sort of give you a glimpse into what we will do next week. So today we've done a little recap from the very, very start. Why are we using the play to win methodology? Is to keep the win as the center of our strategy, to make sure that every step of defining our strategy and planning the delivery of our strategy, that we keep win in focus, and that gives us a better chance of being part of the 30% that win, right? The 30% strategies that win rather than those who don't. We talked about goals, as we just touched on last week. So please feel free, if you missed last week, to go in. It's only 30 minutes to look at what we talked about last week, how we broke down the winning aspirations into different kinds of goals and sub goals. We've got the BHAG, the overlining winning aspiration to be, a leading global bank, UK-centric leading global bank, and then broke that down into, sub goals. And, that's also on this whiteboard. Remember, if you want access to this whiteboard, please do ask in the comments, whether you're watching this on YouTube or LinkedIn, please ask in the comments and we will be happy to send you this whiteboard that we've been working on. The videos, the full length video and the short clips are also available. If you want them, please do ask for them. We have a white paper that describes all of this process in its entirety, plus a lot of technical detail that I can't get into, including the how to do this that I'm showing you. If you want the white paper, please reach out to us. Right. So today we've taken how hierarchy effectively is our goals at the top. That's our winning aspiration. And feeding into those goals will be our definition of where to play. And this is going to be our major focus areas. And that's what we've defined today. I think we've defined 5 focus areas today. And within those 5 focus areas, there will be sub-focus areas. Now, under those sub-focus areas is where our next step, what we're going to cover next week, comes in, which is the next step in our strategy, which is how to win. Okay, now we know where to play. Okay, right? Now we know that we want to play in UK retail banking. How do we win in UK retail banking? How do we win in banking? More nuanced in retail banking, and more nuanced than that in retail banking in the UK, which will be quite significantly different to retail banking in the US and retail banking in the EU, because it's driven by, different legislation, and there'll be, interesting nuances that we need to be able to cover, and we need to understand. And of course, later on, in a couple of weeks, when we get to you know, more of you, you know, what are the roles that can deliver this how, right? And then we'll start to think about what we need, what the people that would deliver the strategy, what they must know, right? There must be people who understand not just banking, not just retail banking, but UK retail banking. Okay, right? So, and of course, we will talk about, you know, how sometimes we can bring experience from other places to support and grow in a new place. But at the very core of it, we've got to have those people delivering this, knowing and understanding this market, this geography, this specialization, knowing and understanding how to win here. Okay, so we've defined our way to play. Offline, I will sort of finish this. And so if you're following, please feel free to finish this. If you want access to these test sites, to be able to play, or to a test like this, to be able to play with this, let me know. We will give you access. We'll give you one of your own. Again, for you to jump in, play, you know, pick a strategy document for your company or other companies, and start to play around and start to understand how to do these definitions, break it down, put it in a tool like Jira, where you can dynamically build you know, a plan, whether it's a strategy plan or a tactical plan. A strategic plan or tactical plan is fine. You can build both of them. You can even connect them together, you know, and we can show you all of that at some point in future. All right. So I would like at this point to see if we have any questions. Actually, please do put your questions in you know, on YouTube in the comments, and on LinkedIn in the comments, right? Please do that, and then we will see next week. Okay, this is it for us for this week. It's been absolutely fantastic. Let us know what your thoughts are on all that I've shared and what I've shown you, and please do feel free to come back same time next week. All right, thank you very much. That is it.